Good morning. No further ado, we start seated this morning. So if you like to sit on a block, please do. I will choose the Japanese way of sitting. So I will choose to sit towards my heels. For that one, I do prefer a block simply because that takes some pressure away from my knees. And you could also have two blocks if you prefer. Let's rest the hands down gently upon the thighs. And we won't do huge movement to begin with, but I thought we'd start moving as there's so much movement outside today. So it doesn't feel right to begin in stillness. I would ask you to take a breath in. Let your arms open like cactus arms. Get a bit of a squeeze between your shoulder blades. And when you're breathing out, do the opposite. Round forward and touch the backs of your hands together. Then breathe in and repeat the whole lot. Squeeze your shoulder blades, open your arms. And when you're breathing out, round forward, backs of the hands touching, leaning a little bit towards the heels. Let's keep going for 3 more breaths. And you could start to open a bit more as the spine begins to warm up, maybe changing that towards a back bend as you inhale, and keeping the roundedness as you're breathing out. Go for 1 more. And then we'll pause in that rounded position. Now, separating your knees a little, and if you can, taking out the support from underneath, placing your hands down onto the solid ground in front of you. And just lengthening out through the spine and noticing where your shoulders are and maybe shrugging them back down into the sockets. Take a deep breath in as you remain here. And then when you're breathing out, you could choose to slide your hands forward, wide-legged child's pose, as you lower the forehead down towards the floor. If the forehead doesn't quite touch the ground yet, don't worry about that. It's still the beginning of our practice. With your next inhalation, coming back up now onto all fours. And we're sliding the knees a little bit in, so the position underneath the hips. If your wrist's feeling a bit sore, you can always step up onto the fists. Otherwise, keep the fingers spread out. Lean the weight a bit forward into the bases and pads of your fingers. And from there, on the next inhale, let your right leg extend backwards. Toes will face towards the ground. If this is enough for you, please stay there. Otherwise, take another breath and lift your left arm forward. And if that arm extends forward, the thumb is pointing up. On the out breath, squeezing elbow, knee and nose together under the body. On the inhale, extending again. On the exhale, squeeze back under, round your back. And 1 more round. Inhaling as you're extending and exhaling to squeeze it. Extend once more as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, move your arm and leg to opposite sides. On the inhale, bring that back. And 2 more like this. On the out breath, open up. On the inhale, center it. 1 more. Out to the side with leg and arm. And then inhale, come back to the center. Lower only your hands down. And then lower your toes down. Finding firmness across the upper back. And you can choose to stay like this, or you can lift the other knee off the floor as well for Baddha, the plank shape. Inhale here. Exhale, bring the knees back down, untuck the toes. On your next exhalation, sinking back towards the heels. Keep a big stretch forward in your arms. And when you're inhaling again, lifting once more to all fours. We'll repeat that on the other side. Let's extend our left leg back, foot is flexed, toes facing the floor. Find the stability in the arms before you choose if on the inhale you would like to lift the right arm forward. Turn the thumb of the hand to face upwards. Inhaling and exhaling, squeezing elbow, knee, nose together underneath your body. And then breathe in and stretch out long again. We'll repeat for 2 more. Exhaling, curl in. Inhaling, extending. And the last round. Breath out, curl it in. And when you're next inhaling, extend again. Now move arm and leg out to opposite side on the out breath. Inhale, bring that back to center. 2 more. Breath out, move it out to the side. Inhale to center. And last round. Exhale, out towards the sides. Inhaling, come to center. And then only lower your hands down onto the floor. Now lower the toes down onto the mat. Become firm again in the upper back and in your arms. And if you like, lifting the right knee off the floor for the full plank variation. As we inhale, and with the exhale, lifting your hips up for the first downward facing dog. Do walk out your legs if you feel that's appropriate for you to do. Maybe get a bit of a swing into the hips. Great. Now, next in breath, right leg is lifting up high towards the ceiling. Keep the hips in a squared position. Foot is flexed again. On the out breath, draw your knee up into the chest. Big squeeze forward. And then landing this foot between the hands. You can choose to lower the back knee down to the ground, but keep your toes tucked under. Let's breathe in and let the head relax down, collapsing this lunge. And as you're breathing out, roll it up. Bring your hands onto your hips or onto your thighs. Inhale here. If your knee is on the floor, push the floor away as you breathe out and rise up into this lunge. On the inhale, let's do what we've done seated. Open the arms out. On the exhale, round forward, backs of the hands coming to touch. On the inhale, open the front of your body. On the exhale, round it forward. 1 more. All good things are 3 as we open. And on the out breath, rounding forward all the way down towards the floor as your hands come down to frame the foot. Stepping the foot back into a downward facing dog. On the in breath now, roll it forward into a plank or a kneeling plank. Keep your elbows by your sides as you breathe out to lower all the way down onto the floor. On the inhale, wave up head and chest for a cobra. Can be a baby cobra. The hands could touch the floor or be lifted. The shoulder blades down the back. Take another breath while you remain here. And with the following inhale, push yourself up onto all fours. Tuck the toes under for a puppy shape. So let your hips reach all the way up and back this time. If you prefer an all-four stance, go there. Otherwise, lift your knees off the floor and come back into downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in and out, with or without movement in this shape. And on the next inhale, lift the left leg. Keep the foot flexed for help with alignment of the hips. And when you're breathing out, draw the left knee in towards the nose and then land the foot forward. You might lower your back knee down to the ground. And on an in breath, relax the upper body. On the out breath, roll up for your lunge, hands into the side of the waist. And as you next exhale, if your knee is to the ground, pushing the floor away. Repeat our movement on the in breath, cactus arms, squeezing the shoulder blades. On the out breath, rounding forward, backs of the hands are touching. Let's do that twice more. Inhale, open. Exhale, rounding forward. Last round here. Inhale to open. And the same here. When you exhale, roll all the way forward. Take your hands to either side of the front foot. And now step the back foot to the front end of the mat. And inhale for a half lift. And exhale for a forward bend. And waiting for an out breath as we curl ourselves up into standing. Let's give the shoulders a little shrug and roll back at the front of our mats. We will continue with a tree pose. I thought that's very fitting, and as our trees might sway a little bit in the wind as well. So we're standing on the left foot as we bring the right foot in and open our knee out to the side. Now, if this isn't high enough for you, please feel free to step the foot anywhere but against the knee, even up high into the groin. If you step the foot up to that inner thigh, push the inner thigh back into the foot. That is for us to keep the foot there. Hands might become together in front of the chest for prayer position. Even if your foot isn't this far up, make sure that you're lengthening through the side of the hip. Let's extend the arms as you inhale. You can choose to keep the palms touching or create branches for your tree. Outside of my window, there's nothing still I can look at, so I'm sadly swaying a little bit. Let us take an inhale, lift the arms again and bring the knee up. Bring your hands together down to the chest as you flex your foot. And then we'll transition in a slow pace through a warrior three as the leg extends back and the body leans forward. Then bending the standing leg and landing the foot down behind us. We'll take another inhale and extend the arms back up. And as you breathe out, bring the hands back to the heart and turn your body to the left. On the in-breath, open the arms out to shoulder height. Palms open towards the ceiling, just a gesture of openness and ready to receive what this day has to offer. And you might from there place the back hand into your lower back, keeping your back knee in a bend and raising the arm on an inhale. See if you can reach up high with the upper arm and allow yourself to keep a bend in the back knee after a bit of length through the hip flexor. Inhaling again. And as you exhale, take the top hand either to your thigh for support or straight down onto the floor. And then as you take an inhale, roll the left shoulder back. Your choice to stay exactly here or to extend the left arm backwards. I'd ask you to encourage also as you're holding that twisted lunge, the left hip backwards and out into the heel of the back foot. Then take the back arm, swing it down and place it on the outside of your foot. Step this back into a downward facing dog. I think it's a good opportunity now to Erdha Vinyasa. And if you're ready, take a breath in, roll forward into a plank. On the exhale, lower on or toward the floor, elbows close. Breathe in now for a cobra or an upward facing dog. Beautiful. And either straight back into down dog on the out breath or use another breath in between for some extra movement or stretch back to puppy. Good idea to find alignment in this down dog if that is your choice. Take a little bend into the knees and aim to stretch your tailbone further up and back. Sometimes with that, the shoulders come closer towards the ears. Keep the shoulders in their sockets. So with your next in-breath, let's lift the right leg up into the air. With the out-breath, squeeze your knee towards your nose. And then aiming with your foot between your hands. Please lower the back knee again towards the mat. This time untuck the toes. Slide your hands a bit back towards the knee on the floor. And lift the sole of the front foot off the ground. I'm after half Hanuman. So we're extending the front foot out. Do so through the ball of the foot rather than through the whole sole of the foot. Take an inhale for lengthen your spine. And when you're breathing out, begin to lower your nose towards the knee. If any of you feel like full Hanuman and know what I'm talking about, please go ahead. Otherwise, we'll spend a few breaths here, encouraging length into the back of our front leg. Maybe even across the glutes and parts of our back. We will change our position with the next inhale. Come to the sole of the foot, take the hands a bit forward, tuck the back toes under, lift the knee off the floor, inhale for long spine, exhale to step the foot into a standing forward bend, and inhale for a half lift, and out breath to fold. And again, please wait for the exhalation as there's a balance to follow. On this out breath, rolling up into standing, lift the shoulders, roll them back and down and arrive in a mountain form. Let's steady ourselves and potentially by lifting all the toes off the floor. And then letting them gently lower back down to the mat while we keep that connection of the feet to the ground. We'll change sides for our trees. I'm shifting my weight to the right foot, starting to bend the left knee and turning outwards. If your foot is again high up to the inner thigh, please keep that strength of the inner thigh against the foot. And if you feel ready to bring the hands together in front of the chest, you could do so. Steady your gaze on something that's not blowing around. And if you like, take an inhale, extending the arms into a crown or into branches. Finding the inner stability, the connection into the ground, the strength that comes up through the trunk of this tree. And with the next inhale, lifting the arms again, lifting the knee up in front, flex the foot. And as you breathe out, bring your hands down to the chest and slowly transition into Warrior 3. Take your time, and there might be several breaths that get you into the extension of the leg backwards. Once you've got that, you can lightly point the foot, bend the front knee, land the foot all the way down onto the floor, keeping a little bend there as we rise up, inhaling, arms lifting. Hands come back to the heart for a twist now to the right. On the inhale, let your arms extend out, shoulder height. Leave the palms again facing upwards as you're extending through the arms. Your gaze is open towards the side. And you could from there place the back hand into the lower back. When you next inhale, sweep the front arm up towards the ceiling. Maintain that soft bend in the back knee and really reach up through that arm to create the length in the front of the left hip. We will change from here. Breathe in again. On the exhale, take the top arm and either take it onto the front thigh or let your fingertips touch the floor inside of your foot. And as you inhale, roll the right shoulder back. The gaze could turn over toward that side. And if you would like an extension, reach the arm from the lower back to the back of your space or your mat. Encouraging the right side of the hip and the left heel towards the back there as well. Swinging the backhand down, outer edge of the foot. Step this back, downward facing dog. If you want to rest now, please do have a rest. Otherwise, come through vinyasa. As you breathe in, roll it forward, round it back into straight plank. Exhale to lower down all the way or halfway. Inhaling for your back bend. And returning in your own time into a downward dog or a puppy shape. Again, this is an opportunity to reset your breathing. If you like, you can have a sigh out and begin again. Deep, full breaths in and out of your nose. With the next breath in now, lifting your left leg up, keep the foot in flexion, remember alignment of the pelvis. And when you breathe out, draw your left knee in towards your nose and aim with the foot between your hands. Lowering the back knee down onto the mat and untucking the toes. Let your hands slide towards the knee. Lift the sole of the front foot off the ground and slide your heel along the floor, extending the leg. Now push out through the ball of the foot. Bring length into your spine as you inhale. And when you're exhaling, lower your nose towards the front leg. While we keep shoulders relaxed, we're still pressing out through the ball of our front foot, engaging around the leg and encouraging length in the back of the leg, maybe all the way up from glutes to lower back. With your next inhalation, bending into the front knee, landing the foot down, hands might slide to either side of this foot. But we will then slide the foot back and bring both knees down onto the mat, only to swing the feet across and come down into a seated form. Let us touch the soles of the feet together here. Hands can reach to the ankles. To slide the feet in more, or you could straight away embrace your toes for Baddha Konasana, a butterfly shape. And as you breathe in, lengthen through your back. And when you're breathing out, add a little bit of a swaying movement. And one that potentially takes you slightly into a forward bend. So we use the inner thighs to help us steady in tree, or at least some of us did. And you might feel that there's a little bit of tension there. So when you reach the point where you think you can't lean further forward, you could choose to relax the head down and allowing yourself 2 deep sighs out. Letting your knees become heavier. Then as you slowly curl yourself up into sitting, let your legs slide out long in front of you. Have a flexion in the feet and place the hands down by the sides of the hips with the fingers pointing forward. For a rod pose or dandasana. Inhaling now as you lift your arms out in front, and you might bring a bend into the knees, keeping your toes facing the ceiling. As you breathe out, bending forward from the hips and just landing the hands down on or either side of the legs, wherever they can land without any force, any harm to yourself. And you could deepen your forward fold from here. Maybe your gaze remains slightly forward on your legs as you use a strong exhalation to deepen. 2 more breaths. After the second, inhale to lengthen your spine, maybe lifting the arms back up, and then a breath out to roll down in slow motion onto your back. Letting your arms release, your body soften, but then stepping the feet down onto the ground for our last shape before Shavasana. Take your knees up wide towards the shoulders and give them a squeeze in. You can change your hold to the backs of the legs from there and lift the ankles over the knees and flexing the feet for a happy baby. If you want to have a stronger happy baby, arms remain inside of the knees and hands hold to the outer edges of the feet. Nothing else has changed. Your ankles are stacked over the knees, and with the out breath, can you draw your knees down towards the outside of your shoulders, the floor there. Keeping your knees bent, but you could add a slight rocking from side to side. And if you want to do that more passively across the back, to pull on one foot and then the other will rock your body. Bringing your feet back together, then the knees back together, and slowly releasing your feet down. Let the arms fall away from the body. If you prefer a constructive resting pose, to do the opposite with the hips, have feet wide, let knees fall in. Otherwise, legs long for full Shavasana, toes rolling outward. Shoulder blades slightly snuck under. Close the eyes. Take a deep breath. Have a sigh out to arrive. And while the first thing that you might notice could be the sound of the wind, your body has now moved. And you might be able to tap to the quieter space that lies within you, where there is a subtle movement of breath. And maybe you can feel your heart beating. Your body is steady and still. Those of you who have no need to go anywhere, please enjoy a longer Shavasana if you like. The others begin to deepen their breathing again and bringing subtle, careful movement back into the body. And I suggest today to bend the knees and roll over to the side and just snuggle up there for a breath or maybe two. Knowing that you're still held. And then coming into a seated form. Touching hands together in front of the chest. centering through the sit bones and rising up through the crown of the head. Bowing your head very lightly towards your heart, remembering the stillness that we can find when we look inward. And from a still and steady, supportive place, we're extending to each other. Namaste.